well, first of all, you know, me as an individual, we have to be out there because and I want the parents to understand this. We, as a school board member, we must be out there advocating for our students and our teachers. Okay, the local level people, we have to advocate for our teachers and our students, because if we don't, then we're going to continue to be in the same boat we are in now. Because in order for students to succeed, you got to have money for programs. You got to have money for teachers. And you see, Veronica, programs don't teach kids. Teachers teach kids. And we spend a lot of money for programs, but we need to have a person in front of students. And I truly believe that as a person, because I'm a brick and mortar person. If I had to just look at computer, I probably never made it. You probably have never known Shake Washington. But you got to have teachers in front of students in order for them to be successful. And one of the ways you do that, you have to pay them. And plus you have to give them, you know, you got to give them their say so. They have to have responsibility. You got to give them their input. Teachers have to have input. You can't be all by yourself. And I said it for years. We try to run the Hillsborough County school system from the top. It's not ran from the top. It's ran from the bottom, which is very important. And when you run it from the top, then you don't know what's going on at the school. You have to give the principals autonomy to run their schools, and the principal must give teachers input in order for them to be successful. And if you don't have that, Veronica, then you won't be successful. That's my belief. Now, maybe I'm wrong.
To keep banging on the doors in Tallahassee. For the last 4 years, I've taken many trips up to Tallahassee, and I've met with our legislators, our senators, and our state reps, and even our governor and our commissioners with the Department of Education about prioritizing public education. It makes no sense that we are so far behind the curve when it comes to public education funding. And so I'm going to use my seat, my platform, my voice, and my passion to continue advocating for better teacher pay and for better public education funding. This is about building strong relationships and having the courage to really demand that we get the priority that we need. Again, as your board member, it's my job to make sure that the superintendent is addressing these things. We know that right now in Hillsborough County Public Schools, that is in fact a major issue. And so one way we combat it is by inviting the teachers to the table to make sure that every teacher has a voice. It's important that we listen to them. It's important that they have an opportunity to tell us what it is that they need. You see, we cannot plan and shape the district for them. It has to be done with them. And so I'm a big proponent of making sure that we are getting all voices at the table. And so when I reach out to teachers, a lot of our instructional support staff, you know, they tell us a lot of things that are wrong in the classrooms and how it can be improved and how it would make them happy. And we're able to then take that back and create policies and also get practices and policies and procedures put into place. But one thing I know is that when our teachers are happy, then our students will be well. And so we have to make it a priority to make sure our teachers are happy and they have everything that they need to succeed, so that way our students will also thrive.
Now, let's talk about how do you get the teachers. Okay, number one is always pay. You have to pay the teachers. It's so important to pay the teachers to do a great job, okay? And then from that point, then you have to have teachers' input, because it's so easy to get burned out. Hey, I was a teacher. I taught before I became an area superintendent or principal AP. Because it's so important. You know, teachers are with kids every day. Administrators are not with kids every day. So you have to get input from the teachers and administrators, but it's more important to get the input from the teachers so they don't get burned out. They can tell you things, Veronica, that you need to do in order to keep them from being burned out. And you know, we as administrators need to listen to, we need to listen to our teachers when they are doing that. Something else is very important too, and I'm writing down my notes when you were telling me about it. I think we have to put the most efficient and effective teachers in front of students. Okay, how do we do that? By recruiting, by giving teachers good training, because it's so important to give them that training. That's the key, to give them the training. And it's so important when you give them that training, you have to give them a training dealing with the environment that they are in too. Because, Veronica, let me tell you something, and I think this is very important. Coming through as a teacher, I had teachers with me. They sent me to another school. They sent them to a school what was more in poverty than the school I went to, okay? But what they needed was cultural training, because they were in an environment quite different from the environment that I was in. And I think cultural training is so important when teachers go into a school, because you have to know the culture you're teaching in. You have to be aware, and I call it cultural awareness. You have to know the culture you're teaching in. And if you don't, then you don't understand your students. You don't understand the environment that you're in. And that's one of the things that I think I can bring to the board, being a former, coming all the way through the ranks, that I could bring to the board to help the superintendent and any other person up top understand. No, ma'am, I don't. I do not believe teachers should be armed. And the reason why I said that, Veronica, teachers are there to teach school. They're not bodyguards. You know, if you know, their job is to teach. Because let's face it now, Veronica, the times are hard the way it is now. I mean, it's hard being a teacher. And I understand, you know, many people do not understand unless you've been a teacher. Back in my time when I was teaching, it was hard. It's even harder now. So I would not want a teacher in a classroom having a weapon. Okay, when you go out your classroom, where you gonna put your weapon? You know what I mean? Are you gonna lock it up, or what you gonna do? You're gonna walk around with your coat unlocked so kids can see your weapon? Now let's talk about what I believe. My belief is teachers should not be armed. We should train our security people in the school to deal with students in a positive way. Now, that's my belief, and I'm giving you the belief from a principal, okay? Because when I was the principal at Milton, at Chamberlain first, and then I was the principal at Milton, I had good SROs, school resource officers, and I also had school security. And we had programs that we call Crime Watch. And Crime Watch programs are programs that help students understand the importance of just good behavior. Because you know, when you're an officer, you have to build relationships with students. And that's the key. And I made sure that we built relationships. We had Crime Watch, we had kids walking around with security shirts on, and they felt important, and they felt like they were a part of that security force. Now, that's just my belief, and it worked well for me.
Absolutely not. As you may recall, after the Marjory Stoneman Douglas incident and with the legislation that occurred, Hillsborough County was one of the first districts in the state to absolutely say that teachers will not be armed. Teachers are not armed security guards. Their job is that of educators, and we simply cannot put another thing on their plate. And so we want to make sure that our trained and licensed security officers, our school resource officers are the only ones on campus with guns, and that we have enough of them and we're adequately protecting all of our teachers and of course all of our students. I'm never going to be a proponent of having a teacher who has so many things to deal with become now our armed security guard. I think that's absolutely inappropriate. It absolutely is too high here in Hillsborough. You know, one thing I am proud of is that we do now have a very robust mental health program through our behavioral health network. One thing we have done, or I have done as a board member, is really been very intentional and focused around driving more restorative practices in the district and less punitive practices. While we understand that it is up to our school resource officers, or in the instance where there is law enforcement in our schools, to make that decision about Baker acting, we need to make sure that we're also holding them accountable, that they're not just using their rights to Baker act or arrest or take a child off campus, that we implement a level that first we can, deal with it in-house. And so it really, really is and has become a serious issue. It's heartbreaking, especially when it's our smallest children, our most vulnerable. And so whether it's discipline in a classroom or what have you throughout the district, we have to be more restorative and caring in our approach, and not just simply haul away kids just simply because they may be facing some challenges.
We need more school psychologists. Now, and that costs money now. Mental health people cost money. And Veronica, not only for students, but for teachers too, because we're talking about COVID-19 right now. So we need that not only for them, but we need that for students and teachers. And we need to put money in there. I mean, we have to have mental health, because, kids come to school sometimes, you don't know what's going on at their homes when they come to school. They come to school, they're grouchy, they don't want to do their work. And, and many times, if you don't understand students, you might say, well, that kid not doing what they're supposed to do. But we need mental health. We need school psychologists to be able to speak to those students. And let's see, can we solve this problem? Because a kid might be, you don't know, a kid parent may have died. I mean, we don't know that. Or somebody in their family may have died. Somebody in one of their friends may have gotten hurt. And they come to school that day and they acting up, and you Baker acting. And that's the one thing that I did not believe in, and I guess I was fortunate because I had a great relationship with my students during my time as a principal and as an administrator. But I do not, we need to have those psychologists in those, in schools. And it's going to take money to do that. And I believe we should have them.